All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here on the Strickland YouTube channel, the Strickland Twitter. And if you're listening to this the day after, the Strickland Podcast Network, I am Sam. I am running this solo tonight. Knicks take care of business versus the Detroit Pistons for the 16th time in a row versus the Detroit Pistons with a score of 128-98, a 30-point blowout. Things seem to be really clicking for the Knicks, and the Pistons are still a bad basketball team, which works in our favor tonight. But before we get started and talk about everything great that happened tonight, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL, to entertainment and political props, head to BetOnline today. Getting on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so the Knicks, they took care of business and they handled the Pistons all night, basically. There was really no point in this game where it was left in the balance and you were wondering what was going to happen. The Knicks kind of were locked in from the beginning. And this is a little bit of that carryover effect from the last game. I didn't get to watch a lot of the last game, but I did see that they were locked in from a certain point in the third quarter on and never really looked back versus the Heat. And you see that tonight again versus the Pistons. Pistons are a much worse team than the Heat are, and much worse team than the Knicks are. And to the Pistons' credit, I thought they were at least a little bit more respectable to start this year. They started off the year like 0-4, then they played the Sixers, and then they beat the Sixers in that game. And that's a whole other situation with the Sixers there. But I just thought the Pistons were a little bit more respectable. Their games weren't complete blowouts. I mean, they gave a lot of teams some tough battles in the first couple of games, especially the Pacers in that first game of the season. And then they battled against some of their next couple opponents as well. So I didn't want to completely disrespect the Pistons coming into this matchup, but I expected the Knicks to be able to handle business. And handle business they did. You're seeing some real nice cohesion between the starters now. This is the fourth straight game that all the starters have scored in double figures, which is very encouraging. And it's very encouraging to see that a good chunk of the starters played at least less than 33 minutes or so. So that's always encouraging as well. Getting some guys some well-needed rest early in the season doesn't help at all. Doesn't hurt at all. But yeah, I guess we can start with Jalen Brunson, who had 36 points on 22 shots and put up a nice volume of threes, which is what I like to see. 8 threes he put up tonight and hit 6 of them, 75% from the three-point line. Dished out some assists as well. Just was really playing really well. I thought that he played off the ball pretty well today as well. There was some great moments between him and Cat and him and the other starters, whether he was cutting and stuff, just getting some nice open looks in the paint. That hopes that the team has a five that can space the floor, as well as a five that can pass the rock. There was some beautiful passes from Cat, especially that behind the back pass. Just great stuff to see. I know a lot of us were worrying about the passing aspect that we lost from Julius and Iheart, but you're seeing what Cat can do. He had 7 assists tonight, Cat, along with his 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals and a block. So yeah, that was some good stuff. And you're seeing the cohesion build between these two as well with their 2-man game. And it will only get better over time. But it's great to see that against these inferior opponents, they can just lock in, take care of business, and still build that chemistry. OG tonight as well, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. Locked in on both ends of the court. Hit some threes, played some great defense, got in the passing lanes, just disrupted stuff. The Pistons are still a very sloppy basketball team, I know. They had JB Bickerstaff here now, and he's supposed to be able to sort of get them under control in a way that Monty Williams was not able to. But they're still the Pistons, and some loser stench is still still there, and that's hard to get out for a team that's been bad for as long as the Pistons have. But yeah, I mean, great game. And let's see, I had some notes for tonight's game. I thought I would at least be able to discuss these with someone, but I will just describe what my notes were here. My first notes were beautiful ball movement. Tonight, as a team, the Knicks had 31 assists. That is pretty good. 31 assists on 52 made field goals. Yeah, they looked really well, especially that first quarter. Just was like first quarter was as perfect as the first quarter as you ever want to see from a team like this. And you're hoping they can continue putting together these cohesive performances as they face tougher opponents down the stretch of the season. So it's great to see them locked in. The offense was free flowing. There's a lot of movement. I noticed that a lot of people on Twitter were saying that things are very much different from the way we've run things in the past, especially with like the Randall ISOs, the Randall DHOs and stuff like that, as well as some RJ Barrett's ISOs as well. But you're seeing, when you have a certain level of talent, you're able to do things, and it's also with the type of players that we have too, like guys that are just more willing to do those things, like OG and McCall and Josh and Jalen, just all cutting all around the floor. You're seeing these guys being able to take advantage of that, and against the Pistons, who aren't good defensively, the Knicks just got a ton of backdoor looks as well, and that was great to see the Knicks just take advantage of that. What else I had in my notes here? Brunson cutting, hitting, and taking threes, especially the taking threes part, what I thought was the most important part. He took 8 threes tonight. Bridges took 6. Towns took 6. OG took 5. McBride took 8 as well off the bench. Just love to see the team getting that volume up. Still not get all the way up to where we would want it to be, I would say, as a fan base. I know the fan base has been clamoring for the Knicks to get their 3-point attempts up, but slow and steady. I think that team will start ramping them up. But it's good to see guys like Bridges and Towns and Brunson just taking more threes, because it just opens up the floor, and as you can see, when they're hitting them, the offense just looks great. So yeah, I mean, hoping that they can continue to take those threes. Brunson, starting to look like how he looked at the end of last year. Also, another thing that seems to be a trend lately is Brunson throwing lobs now. This is something that he didn't do that much his first couple years in New York. So, he's throwing lobs. He threw a lob to OG today. I know he threw a lob to Cat last game. So, let's see what happens when Mitch comes back. If Mitch can get better with his screening, maybe we can see some nice two-man game, pick and roll with those two. But yeah, that's also very encouraging to see that he's starting to just, I guess, I want to say add things, because I feel like he's thrown lobs before, but if he's going to make this a consistent part of his game, I guess that's a nice little wrinkle as well, because that's something that he never used to do. It was always just like, once he got into the lane, it was like pretty much a floater or like a dump down pass, but never like a lob pass. So we'll see how that goes. Shout out to Brian Benjamin with the $5 super chat. He says, not going to lie, that second quarter was scary. When Pistons went small, they got dangerous. How can they combat that without Towns? It didn't scare me that much, just because it's the Pistons, of course. But I get what you're saying. I guess the sentiment of a team going small and being able to space out. I'm not too worried about it just yet, just because I would like to see how it looks when other teams do it. And with the Pistons, just not much to worry about. But yeah, they went Tobias at the 5, and they only went with that because I think I have a couple Pistons mutuals, and I think they were acknowledging the fact that Duren was just having a hard time guarding in space, and that's how the Knicks were just able to get so many advantages. But that's the main reason why they went small. It was more of a defensive thing instead of a offensive thing. So I don't think they were really looking for that as an offensive adjustment. They were just more so looking for that defensively, just because Duren was having a hard time. But yeah, fun game. It makes you think, especially seeing Duran struggling to guard in space. It makes you think about when Knicks fans were so upset that we didn't get Duran on draft night, and here he is struggling against us in a matchup where our center was really good at plus 28 in just 27 minutes. Is Jordan Bubb. Um, has Cat's stat line here: 21 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 turnover. That's really good to see that assist to turnover ratio right there. 3 3-point makes, and a plus 28 in 27 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, all that crying about Jalen Duren all those years ago doesn't matter now. I also wanted to highlight, which I had in my notes here, Cat's passing ability really popped this game, as we noticed with the 7 assists, as well as the quick decision making. Yeah, this is going to be a comparison for as long as, their respective careers go on, I think now, just because they're linked forever in this trade. But you see the stark differences in play style from what Julius Randle would do compared to what Karl-Anthony Towns would do in terms of decision making. There's not a lot of lulling and too many dribbles, over dribbling. It's like Cat, he like knows what he's gonna do. If he's gonna shoot, he's gonna shoot. If he's gonna pump fake and drive, he's gonna pump fake and drive. If he's gonna, make the next pass, he's gonna make the next pass. It's like you're not really too concerned. You're concerned a little bit when he starts to drive, just because he has a tendency to pick up the offensive fouls. But you're not as concerned as you were with decision making as you were with Randall, I would say, so far. And today's game really highlights that. And we'll see how that develops as teams change their coverages on him and stuff like that. Because Randall was someone that just used to get doubled all the time in the post. And I feel like he started to adjust towards the end of his Knicks tenure. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how he adjusts, and we'll continue to see if this less turnovers thing continues. That would be very encouraging to see. But yeah, I mean, today it was just a really good game. Not many, if any, complaints at all. And it was just good to see the Knicks have control of a game from start to finish. It's really encouraging, even against an inferior opponent like this. You just want to see a team like the Knicks take care of business the way they're supposed to. And shout out to, I guess, one Jericho Sims, who the Pistons made look credible, as Ace Bouchard says today. Let's see what Sims was, because I know at halftime he was he was up 0 for the whole game today. In a game where the Knicks were up by as much as, I want to say, 35, he was a 0. He was a neutral on the court today. Shout out Jericho Sims. But yeah, I mean, just a really good game. I mean, this was a game that I was just laying back in my bed, relaxing. Tried to take a little notes here and there just for things that just stood out to me, but there was no really major complaints. Want to see the Knicks continue to up that 3-point volume. I guess my only concern would be depth wise. I mean, today is not really a problem because it's the Pistons, but depth was always a calling card of the Knicks in years past, and we'll see what happens with the Precious and the Landry Shamet of it all when those guys recover from their injuries. We'll see how that shapes the rotation, but I mean, 12 minutes from Campaign, 16 from Jericho. It's going to be very interesting, as it's early in the season. I don't know how often you can keep going 8 deep. I know we used to go 9 deep, and the 9 deep was a strong 9. It wasn't Jericho Sims. So we'll see what happens on that front with the Knicks. But that's something that I have my eye on, even in games like this. It's just, that is a general concern that I think a lot of the fan base just has, just because we're just so used to having depth. So it's going to be interesting to see how the team tackles it. But yeah. All right, let's get to some comments here. Shout out to the folks that's been in here leaving comments. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. I'm holding it down tonight solo. Everyone is either busy or occupied and could not make it to the stream. I'm home, so I'm here for y'all. Chris Barnhart says, well, at least the Pistons tried this time. Bickerstaff is still bad, but Leafs better than Monty, Albert, Ainsworth, Williams. Yeah, I pointed out in my little intro there that the Pistons are still bad, but it's not as bad as like Monty Williams bad. They have some semblance of shooting, some spacing. They're playing Cade and Ivy more. Like they're making the right steps to get to where they should have been probably years ago. But Monty Williams kind of like stunted that. But I mean, take a while, take some steps. As Knicks fans, we should know like this type of stuff takes time. They might need a front office change. Maybe Bickerstaff is, they're a guy that's going to get them right. I mean, he's the guy that got the Cavs right from when they were struggling to now. So we'll see if he can do the same with the Pistons. But the Pistons are like, they're slowly starting to make those right steps. Getting some spacing in there, some pseudo spacing with Tobias Harris and Beasley and Fontecchio and Hardaway Jr. There's some spacing there. There's way more spacing than there has been the last couple of years. So we'll see how that continues to impact the development of a Cade and an Ivy. I know that was something that Pistons fans, just NBA fans in general, have been noticing with the Pistons. It's just like the lack of spacing and the lack of playing time with the Cade and Ivy together. So they're doing those things right. But there's still a long way to go for them. So Pistons fans, I am so sorry, but be patient. Brighter days are ahead. I hope for y'all's sake. Jordan Mubb says, I think the only complaint from tonight is starters probably played too much minutes. Yeah, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Cat, Hart, and McCall playing in the fourth. Like, I felt like the fourth quarter really didn't need anybody in the starting unit on the court just because, like, we were handedly taking care of them at that point in the game. And it's just like, don't want any injury risks, especially this early in the season. We already got so many guys out, or at least we already got two, like, pieces that we thought were going to be depth guys for us this year already hurt. You don't want to hurt anyone else anymore, especially like a Hart who seems to have some leg thing. Don't know what it is, whether it's the ankle or whatever else it is, but you just want to keep these guys as fresh as possible. And in a game where the Knicks are handling business and they're up like 25-30 most of the second half, I feel like there was no need for those guys to come in, but can't really complain too much. Jordan Bubb also notes that the Knicks 30-plus wins over the Pistons in Detroit, November 1st, 2024, November 22nd, 2022, April 3rd, 2021, and December 20th, 1968. 3 of those, 4 with Thibodeau at the helm. So Knicks have been handling the Pistons pretty handedly for the last 5 years. Last time we lost to them was 2019. And a lot of these games are blowouts. It's not even close. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Jordan Bubb notes most 35-plus point games by a Knicks guard. Richie Guerin, 40. Jalen Brunson, 30. Walt Frazier, 18. Brunson's going to eclipse this number this year. Like, he's going to have, like, 42 by the end of the year. I think. But, yeah. JLE 3. JLE the third. Dibs on the ball movement. It started with our defense and activity. And you saw that today. I mean, McCall and OG, shout out to them. They held down their parts of my parlay that I had tonight. But, like, all the starters in general had 2 steals. Bridges had 3. And you have McBride off the bench with 4. Like, the Knicks were just active in the passing lanes. And that's what we kind of expected, especially with, like, the length and the tandem between OG and Bridges. You add in Towns. He's got a long wingspan. Brunson's always active defensively. To his credit, more than people will admit. Josh Hart, always all over the court, always doing his thing. But, the guys are just out there using their length, and that's what you want to see from this group. And it helps the Knicks get out into transition. I don't know what the transition points for the Knicks were looking like tonight, but I assume that it was a pretty like substantial number. And I feel like that's where the Knicks. I know there's a whole thing with the Knicks and pace, but I feel like that just gives the team easier opportunities to score. So I would love to see the Knicks continue to just be active defensively in those passing lanes, just getting steals, getting out in transition, getting easier baskets. And yeah. Jordan Bubb highlights what JLE the third asks Thibs if there is anything OG does that separates himself from other great defenders he's coached. He says there are things about him that are so unique and different: size, speed, and anticipation. And Giannis LB80 says OG was amazing, a demon defensively and aggressive offensively, even made multiple threes. Yeah, so let me read out OG's stat line tonight: 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Shout out to him. Dishing tonight too. 2 steals, no blocks, 53% from the field, and 3 of 5 from 3-point. But yeah, I mean, I know there was like, I remember when OG, for like the first OG trade rumors that came out about him, it was like, oh, he's looking for like a bigger role offensively. I feel like the Knicks, they don't really necessarily give him like number 2 option offensive opportunities, but like they give him an opportunity to be part of like, hey, like you're part of this starting group where like we're always going to score double figures and you're going to get so many open looks and you'll be able to take advantage of these like mid-range jumpers that you like to do. And like that's the opportunity that he has now with this Knicks team that he didn't really have with the Raptors, or at least he wasn't as good as he is now as he was offensively with the Raptors. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, OG can continue this. I mean, we kind of saw glimpses of this in that Indiana game where he got hurt and Brunson got hurt, and he kind of had to take on the first option role for a good portion of that Indiana game. He had like 28 points before he like tore his hamstring off the bone, basically. So yeah, there is stuff there that we're seeing slowly and surely with OG, and it's good to see tonight. Even against a lesser opponent, it's still pretty good to see. And we have a super chat here. Brian Benjamin, $5. Shout out to Brian Benjamin once again. He says to defend Thibs, they need more chemistry on the court, and you can only get that with game time. For sure. For me, it's just like you don't want to have too much of an injury risk in a meaningless game against the Pistons, basically, so early in the season. But I do get your point about building chemistry. It does have some benefits. It does have some concerns. So, let's see. Ace Richard asked, is there any word about Matt Ryan? No, there has not been any word about Matt Ryan, which is interesting. But also at the same time, I didn't really anticipate that there would be. He's going to be a G League guy. I anticipate that they might sign him like later down the road, just based on like, I would anticipate it's based on like what updates they get, what happens with Landry Shamet and his possible rehab. But yeah, I mean, he's always been like a guy that's like end of bench kind of guy. Doesn't really get too many minutes. He's more so a guy that like teams have like brought up when they're like really depleted injury wise. I know there's some concerns in the last couple games with Deuce and Josh Hart injuries. So like if there's ever a case where like dudes are injured, I feel like he is going to be one of those guys that they call up to, take minutes. So yeah, we'll see what happens on that front. JLE the third, they've said that Precious is starting to do stuff on the court. He's making good, steady progress. Said hasn't gone through practice yet. I mean, that's encouraging. That's encouraging right there. That's encouraging. You always want to hear that, some potential depth guys could be coming back, especially Precious. Defensively, what he brings to this team. He just brings a little bit more versatility out there. And I would love to see him play over Sims. I think that's just automatic at this point. Just hoping that he comes back soon, but not too soon where he's not like fully himself. But yeah. Citizen X asks, are we willing to accept trading RJ was the best thing we could have done? I think most of us have reached that point. I mean, if anyone is not at that point, I am kind of concerned for what their priorities are for this team. And as a fan, it's just like this trade has obviously made them much better than they were before. So, yeah, I think most people should be willing to accept that the RJ trade was the best thing that we could have done. I would love to hear from someone who doesn't think that. But yeah, I just don't think that there is anybody that thinks that. So that's a good thing that at least the fan base can be on the same page about that. From our very own, the Strickland, our namesake. I believe this is probably Jeff that's tweeting this out, but he said Mikal Bridges is 24 for 38 on 2-point field goals this season. That's 63%. And I saw the other day, I think like Mikal's like flirting basically at like 62% true shooting for the season. So all that concern, outside of the Boston game, he's been pretty damn solid. So can't complain. Jump shot's been hitting. It doesn't look as hitchy as it did in preseason, or at least that's as slow and catapulty as it did in preseason. But who knows? Chris B asks, when can we sign Matt Ryan to the active roster and play him? I mean, I don't know. I think they can sign him now. I mean, like they can like probably sign him to like a 10-day maybe. Or no, they can actually sign him to the main roster. But I think the Knicks want to keep their flexibility for the main roster spots for like Landry and I don't know who else at this point. Maybe Matt Ryan, but the Knicks do have 2 open roster spots. So it's just interesting to see when they'll like bring guys over if they want to. So let's see. Jordan Bub asks, any comments on Embiid's comments from earlier today? It's very funny the relationship Philadelphia sports fans have with their stars. So I'll say that. Also say karma's very interesting. Joel Embiid takes down Mitchell Robinson, and Joel Embiid plays the Olympics, but cannot start the season healthy still. Very interesting. We'll see how things play out for the 76ers. They've had a very interesting year this year. They lost to this Pistons team that we just beat the shit out of. So there's that. But yeah, I just saw the Grant Williams play that a lot of people or at least some people are mentioning in the chat. Grant Williams is a very interesting basketball player. I remember seeing some Knicks fans advocating for like the team to like trade for him or something. I don't know. Interesting. It's very interesting how broad this fan base can go in terms of the scope of players that certain parts of the fan base are looking at. Like, I look at Grant Williams as a joke. Some people look at that as an actual basketball player to bring in to this team. Teach their own. But yeah, that didn't look like a basketball play at all. From Alan Hahn, stocks report last 3 games, Bridges 7 steals and 4 blocks, OG Anunoby 6 steals, 1 block. Next game, I'm playing an OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges steals and 3s parlay. Let's see if they can make me some money. 2 steals a piece and 3 threes a piece. If I played that today, that would have cashed. I don't know what the odds would have been, because y'all know me, I like my high odds plays. But if that gets me like $300 or something off like a $10 or a $5 bet, I'll take it. But yeah, if y'all want to play from me for the next game that the Knicks play, speaking of which, their next opponent will be on Monday. The Rockets. That should be an interesting game. Why the hell is the start time at 8:45? Who starts a game at 8:45? Since when did the Knicks? Since when do the NBA have start times at like a 5-minute mark? What the hell? All right, NBA. But yeah, the Knicks play the Rockets on Monday at 8:45. Weird ass start time. But yeah, next game, I think that's still a good spot. Bridges 2 steals, OG 2 steals, 3 threes apiece from them too. Throw in maybe Josh Hart assists over assists. Maybe you want to throw in Brunson over assists, or maybe you want to throw in Cat over assists. Take that. See what the odds give you. There you go. I just made you some money. JK says, I love that Cat and McCall have smashed any doubts that they were soft, needed dogs after we sent out a few, and they have been dogs. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like guys just offer toughness in different ways too. Like, you know, not everyone's gonna always like be like in your face, like rah type of tough guy, or you know, play bully ball like the same way as Julius did. But I think, you know, these guys just offer toughness in different ways. Like you see Cat, he's still not he's not afraid to like go down low and like try to score on guys. So yeah, I mean, these guys they've had their preconceived, I guess, notions of them being soft, especially Cat. Um, I don't know why. I mean, I know why Cat's gotten it. Cat's a very interesting character, I would say. I think that's what got him the soft label. But yeah, he can bang down low. Pause with the big boys. Pause. Um, so yeah, I mean, those guys they show you. I mean, this team still has Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. Like this team isn't like soft, as opposed to what, you know, certain reporters might put out there before the season even starts. But yeah, no, I think this team is playing really well. And as I like to say, and as Kid Kuro puts out, loving this socialist basketball comrade Dibs has the Knicks running. Much more sustainable scoring potential with this team. Yeah, the Knicks are super hard to bet on just because they play what a lot of people, including myself, like to call basketball socialism. Everybody eats offense. Very hard to bet on the Knicks players because you don't know who's going to go off, because it could be any of them. It could be all of them. You don't know. But yeah, no, this was a very fun game. And yeah, we'll see what the season holds. I feel like I'm missing something, but I also feel like I'm not missing something just because this game was really good. I feel like I covered everything. And yeah, Jordan Bubb brings up Josh Hart this season so far, 14.2 points per game on 55% field goal shooting, 10 rebounds a game, 3.6 assists, 1.4 steals on 66% true shooting. It's pretty damn good to me. I would love to see the Knicks, because like Kirk Goldsberry had like, you know, his little quadrant thing that he puts out. And you know, the Knicks stats were obviously skewed because of that fake ass game from Boston. Shout out to Jason Tatum, who before tonight's game was shooting 9 of 34 from 3 since the Knicks game. Playing against the Charlotte team tonight, you know, he's going to get his. Game doesn't count. But yeah, I'd love to see the Knicks stats, like team stats, like offensive, defensive, all that stuff. Their net rating, how's that looked since that Celtics game to this game? Because I feel like this is like more so what's becoming the closer to a final version of what the Knicks look like, I think. But yeah. Kid Kuro, he says, hate to beat the Sims dead horse, but it's starting to get so bad with him. Really hope Precious can be back soon. Yeah, I feel like we're still we're like weeks away from Precious coming back. So we're just gonna have to suck it up with these Jericho Sims minutes, or hope that Dibs has a revelation about Hukporty. I thought Hukporty gave great minutes versus the Cavs, but I guess Dibs saw otherwise. But yeah, Nemo brings up our upcoming schedule. We got Rockets and Hawks at home to come, then at Bucks and Pacers at home in a back-to-back. That Bucks game, man. That Bucks game, I really hope we could beat the shit out of the Bucks, because I would love to be like the team that like is the breaking point for Doc Rivers to be fired so early in the season. Oh man, that would be so good. I could get so many jokes off. I mean, I'm gonna get them off regardless about Doc Rivers, just because he's a bum. But yeah. Adabambo says that Sims played well tonight. I agree. I mean, he was a neutral on the court tonight, but I mean, playing against the Pistons, you gotta look serviceable. I would hope he looks serviceable. But yeah, I mean, shout out to him. He played well tonight. Did some things well. Not gonna shit on him. I mean, team played well tonight. Not really much to complain about, so I'm not gonna really shit on Jericho Sims. But I mean, he is who he is at this point in his career. I don't know if Dibs is against better teams. He just can't play. Like against the Cavs, I like that Dibs went to Hukporty just because I think Hukporty just shows you a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, tonight wasn't bad from Sims, so I'm not gonna really complain. But yeah, it is what it is with him at this point. So, all right, I think I covered everything in this game. I guess let me make some predictions for the next couple of games. So we have the Rockets at home versus the Rockets. Those games are always tough in Houston for us. Last year we got screwed. But yeah, I think that one's a close one. I think we can pull that one out still. I think we beat the Hawks because like why not? And then Friday we play the Bucks at home. I love our chances in that one just because the Bucks have been so bad. I mean, guards have been lighting up the Bucks so much this year. Like, didn't like Pritchard have like 30 against them? Like, bruh, Brunson might drop 50 against them. Like, I'm so serious. I might take Brunson for 50 on next Friday, because the Bucks are so bad defensively, and they're not gonna have a revelation in a week. Oh man, Chris Middleton is not coming back in a week, so there's that. But yeah, I that is the game I'm looking forward to the most. I think we take that one too, and then we play the Pacers on that Sunday, November 10th. Kind of a matinee, a little bit of an earlier game on the road in Indy. Still not really moved by Indy's start. I mean, I think they're playing the Pelicans right now, and I think they're like, last I checked, it was a closer game. Yeah, they're down to the Pelicans, who are missing like CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones. Like, they are missing some players, and if you are down to them, Halliburton right now, 2 of 7. Sheesh. Miles Turner, 3 of 9. Like, this is just not good. This is not a good team right now. Like, a lot of these teams are not good. I know it's early in the year, but like some things you can already like start to see and tell. And like, I'm really looking forward to those games versus the Bucks and the Pacers, because I feel like we can be like breaking points for these teams early in the year. Like, especially for the Bucks, I feel like they are so close to just getting rid of Doc Rivers or like doing something drastic. I want the Knicks to be part of that. But yeah, as you can see, I'm very excited for next week's slate of games. So yeah, I think this next week of post-game shows will be very, very entertaining, very exciting. And hopefully I'm not solo, so I can have some pals to laugh along with. But yeah, shout out to everyone that tuned in tonight. Shout out to, everyone that pulled up and held it down with me as I was holding it down tonight. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Shout out to the Knicks for getting another dub versus a weaker team, just taking care of business. Make sure you guys check out everything in the description. We got links to the site, merch, Patreon, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you're following us there because it's like we're popping over there, to use an old term right there. But yeah, no, the Instagram page is jumping, so make sure you guys are following us there as well. And yeah, I will be back on Monday with a co-host after the Knicks hopefully take care of business versus the Rockets. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully your teams that you are rooting for in whatever sport win so that we have a great weekend. And I will check in with you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Peace.